This is the Bitcoin Otter Radio Show.
Oh my God, I love you so much!
On 97.7 FM, The City.
Greetings, blessings, and good fortune, everybody. We are back. It's another Thursday. Thank God we're still on the right side of the grass. We're here at KCYP 97.7 in McAllen, Texas, The City. Okay, so we're also coming at you from the McAllen Creative Incubator. We got a lot of stuff going on. We might even hear some accordions and maybe some drums beating next door. I don't know. But this is where we come from, right here, right? So we're going out on YouTube also. We're going on TuneIn Radio and Radio Garden. But you're probably watching us on Facebook Live. And if you are, please feel free to chip in with whatever it is you want to talk about. Now, I don't know if she's in here yet, but my lovely and talented sister Sue gave me this Bitcoin Otter t-shirt here. Wonderful, wonderful. And even I can't mess that up, I don't think. So I'm looking in the deal here, trying to make sure that I get in our live episode here, and we are in. Ladies and gents, I want to tell you something that you probably already know. We live in interesting times. That is for real about our times, but they're not boring. Peace, bro. Got some things to talk about and off of you. I don't know for sure about some of these things, but what I can say is we are running quickly to the midterms. Now, things have to be arranged so that it's a fair election, which is something we haven't had in, probably generations. But I believe that with the help of the counterinsurgency, otherwise called the Q operation, we will get through this, okay? We, as Americans, not those, of course, that are un-American and communist, of which there are many. I guess you could say, affectionately known St. Joseph of Wisconsin, also known as Joseph McCarthy, was absolutely right, okay? Our government was shot through with communists. He was right. That's why they made his name a byword. They being the usual suspects, the Illuminati, the Deep State, the Khazarian Mafia, the International Criminal Cartel, whatever you want to call them. They are the evil ones, okay? A group of families that you and I are not at liberty to criticize. I think it was Voltaire said that if you want to know who rules over you, just figure out who you cannot criticize, okay? Certain few families in this world that are being moved against right now, ladies and gentlemen, right stinking now, and it's awesome to see. But we can't criticize them because then we get called a trademarked name. It starts with an A and ends with an M. I think most of you know what I'm talking about. Jim, good to see you. Sue, hello. Dad, hope you're out there. Tammy, maybe you're watching too. Got your the shirt on, Sue. Got the otter right here. So we haven't really embarked on a conversation yet, but we're going to do the regular thing. And I maybe this is not as regular as it should be, but I want to read today's verse of the day. Ladies and gents, no matter what happens to us, no matter where we go, no matter how we do it, we're going to be okay. And how do I know that? Because it tells me so in Romans chapter 8. Paul says this, I am convinced that neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither present nor the future, nor powers, neither height nor depth, nor anything else in creation will be able to separate us from the love of God that is ours in Christ Jesus our Lord. Thank you, Lord God, for those words, because I'll tell you what, some of us get the idea that we're going to be separated from God based on certain things. And you know what? God is so powerful, he's not going to let go. He loves us so much. he won't let go. I have it on, high authority, the highest. So, as with Matt, good to see you, Matt. Got you on the big screen tonight, he says. YouTube, nice. All right. So, I'm getting your comments, so you must be commenting on Facebook. That's cool. Tammy says hi, hello. And we're about to go into the barometer, the economic barometer, if you will. So I looked it up before the show. We're at 67,000, more or less, for one Bitcoin, 67,000 almost worthless Federal Reserve notes for one very valuable Bitcoin. Remember, price and value, two different things. Gold was at, it's hovering around 5,000, right? And silver, 78.95, I think it was, something like that. So, ladies and gentlemen, real assets are out there. Maybe think about getting you some before it's too late. I don't think we're going to go crashing all the way down to where the deep state players wanted us to go. But I do believe that the good guys are orchestrating a, how would you say, they're steering our way into the destruction of the Federal Reserve, or at the very least, the reformation of said federal, but it's not really Federal Reserve that has no reserves because it's all debt, yours and mine. But I don't think we're going to pay that. We shouldn't. I mean, look, it's going to Somalia. Why would we want that? Why steal from us to give to Somalians, right? Why steal from us to give to George Soros? Why steal from us so that you can burn down another neighborhood in California and then put in affordable living that they're going to rape people for? They're going to rake them over the coals, okay? And they burn people's homes down to do it. Yeah, it sucks, but that's communism. Barry says he tunes in on both. Excellent. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. Sometimes our Facebook feed will go bad, and it'll be only the YouTube version that comes out, or vice versa. But if you guys have something hot and ready to talk about, that's great. But what I wanted to do in a very diplomatic way was highlight something that I've already spoken about in this episode. And that is that there are certain families that we cannot come against. We as average little people. And I'm going to mention one of them that we've all heard about it, but some people who have gone to too much public school, too much university conditioning, they really don't understand. They laugh, they snicker, they sneer because they've been taught to. They've been conditioned to laugh, snicker, and sneer at people who are thinking above and beyond what the conduit of so-called higher education, or even all education nowadays here in the United States, will teach them, will condition them, and program them to think. So if we have the ability to think outside that, and pretty much everybody who's watching right now, listening, has that ability. So I am going to mention something that is outside of the Overton window. What is the Overton window? I'm sure some of you know. It was probably deemed by Mr. Overton or Ms. Overton to be a window in politics that a politician could not approach a campaign outside of said window. Meaning, if you want something to occur based on your actions as a politician, you would very well be advised to make sure it's in that Overton window. What I'm going to mention right now is well outside of that Overton window, but ladies and gentlemen, this window is widening. So what I'm going to tell you right now, and you don't have to believe me, but look it up yourself and you'll find that there is a family that is right now being moved against, and very, very good it is for you and I, because we're regular people and these are evil, evil families. They, to one degree or another, have ruled and reigned over most of the world for generations. Some people say 250 years at a minimum. We're talking way back into the Napoleonic times, right? Others say, you know what? They're just an offshoot, since they're, Luciferian Satan worshipers. They're an offshoot of what was also going on in Egypt in biblical times. So whatever school, whatever discipline you follow, if any, regardless, this family called the Rothschilds, okay? So the red shield, I guess somewhere in their original language, and it's not the original language you think it is. Yeah, give you a little wink there. We're on Facebook, so there's only a limited amount of things that I can say and not get shut down. So I want to tell you, and without judgment and without any type of, how would you say, prejudice, one way or the other. And please give me that opportunity as well. Ashley Sal is watching on the Bitcoin Otter. Good to see you. Hope you're getting some out of this. Throw something up, please, if you want to talk about it. Sal. So here's where I'm going to go. And it is controversial, but since when have we been afraid of that? There have been very few movements against this Rothschild family. The Q operation is moving hot and heavy against them because they are the satanic. They might not be the very top, the epitome of the top, but they're really high, and they are no longer a worry to us. My opinion, based on many articulable facts that our hour today would not encompass. So I want to say something. Paul, good to see you. And I don't want this to be anything that you're going to jump off the cliff on. I know you won't do that, any of you, because that's just not who you are. But I want to mention a name. And this name, ladies and gentlemen, is notorious in the worst way. But I want to tell you the name of this person, the last known person historically to ever move against the Rothschild family. What was his name? Anybody out there got the name of the guy that imprisoned? Marcos, good to see you. The name of the guy that imprisoned a Rothschild family member? Does anybody know how far back that is? Thank you, Paul. Peace and prosperity to you too, brother. Can anybody tell me the last person that actually, who it was historically? He's a very historical person. Very real person. He jailed one of them sons up. We're on Facebook. He jailed one of those. We're on Facebook. He jailed one of those pricks. Okay? That was the last time anybody ever came against the Rothschild family. And now the Q group is doing it right in the liver, man. Kicking them, punching their spleen. They're done, ladies and gentlemen. They're done. That's the only reason I can say this right now. It's the only reason we're still on right now is because of what the Q Patriots have been doing. I haven't seen the name pop up, but you're going to know him as soon as I say it. You're going to know him from his first name, which is Adolf. The big H, right? The big H. He was the last person to move against the Rothschild family. And we all know what happened to him. I'm not going to go too far out, but what I will say is this. Regardless of that person's character, regardless of what that person did or did not do in history, which has been lied about. So I wasn't there. The enemy that Germany, were fighting is the same enemy we're fighting today, but only much more powerful. Because like I said, and I think that quote was attributed to Voltaire, if you want to know who rules over you, all you got to do is know who you cannot criticize. And remember, that small group of people that isn't even valid, meaning they're not of the same bloodline as the biblical. Exactly. Yeah, you're following me if you're following me. Okay? They're imposters. Right? So that group of people, we can't, I guess in mixed company, insult, criticize, or lay blame to. Matt says everything in history has been a lie. Absolutely. Absolutely, Matt. World War I, all that was a pretense to get the League of Nations and then ultimately the United Nations, one world government. What was World War II about? Two nations set up yours. It was Germany and it was Japan. And what happened to them? If you don't believe me, and you do well not to believe anybody who's coming at you on Facebook or YouTube or TuneIn Radio or Radio Garden right? If you don't believe me, look up the Balfour Agreement. You want to know how we got involved in that miasma of a criminal war that was lied about, as you well said, Matt? It was completely lied about. World War II went completely different than what we were taught. Do you know why and how we got wrapped up in it as America, as Americans? You know, some of our ancestors went and died in crazy locations around the world. Why that happened? The Balfour Agreement. Look it up. The Balfour Agreement. Ladies and gents, I'm not, what you would call the smartest guy in the world, and that's fine. I don't claim to be. But I know how to read. And I read some very smart people. If you want to know a little bit about the stuff that we talk about here on the show, but, you haven't maybe been, brought up to speed with it or whatever, not saying I'm smarter than you, but I've read people that are smarter than me. So I can point you in the direction of where I get my knowledge, or some people think insanity, from. But regardless, there are very, very intelligent people, very prominent historians throughout the span of, you go through the 250 years of the reign and rule of the Illuminati, if you will, right? The Khazarian Mafia, that's my favorite. The Deep State, the International Banking Cartel. I love them all. They're all good names for bad people. So when I learn about this stuff, I try to pass it on. Is it infallible information? Absolutely not. Hell no. But when we come together and we learn a little bit here, learn a little bit there, and we share it, we can now dial in on what is most likely the true scenario of what happened throughout history. And once we know what happened in history, we can hopefully avoid it in the future. That's, my goal. So what else happened this week? Well, we had, a little bit of movement, and I'm not talking about the private stuff. I'm talking about the movement of troops into the Middle East area, right? Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would love to be the first one to reassure you that we are not going to have a nuclear conflagration in a worldwide scenario. How do I know that? Again, I can share these things with you. I can share with you why I believe I do, but I'll try to explain it quickly right here and now. The group that has wrested the power away from the usual suspects is a group that knew what they were doing for a long time. Some people say it goes back to the Kennedy assassination. Some people say it was even before that. So our military, we're talking the United States military, the best of the best. They had a core of patriots, okay, that really, really knew how far down the crapper the leaders, the politicians, the presidents had gone. If you really want to dig into this, I'll give you a great way to start. The Venona, I don't know if they're the papers, the wires, whatever, Venona. So patriots in our military had intercepted communications, okay, with the Soviets. And when they did that, they also intercepted communications from the communists inside of our government. And as I said a little while ago, if you weren't here, I'll repeat it. St. Joseph of Wisconsin, that's Joseph McCarthy, was absolutely right. Maybe I need to get a T-shirt for St. Joseph of Wisconsin. Maybe I'll get that. But anyway, he said that we were absolutely inundated with communists in our government. And he was absolutely right. We have way too many. Mikey, good to see you, Mikey. I'm talking about the Venona intercepts. Yes. I'm sure you know about that, Mikey. Mikey, by the way, hi, NDA Otter. hey, Brian. Oh, by the way, I just want everybody to know that the military also has a presence on the Rio Grande. Yeah, just as an aside here, that there are actually military zones that they have taken to the extent that they are prosecuting under a completely different code because it's a military area. So this is interesting. I mean, a lot can be done there. I won't get into it too much. Again, it's an aside. Maybe we can do a little bit more on that. But yeah. Beto, good to see you. How do we get one of those Otter shirts? Hey, Sue, hook me up. I'm going to need some swag. I think what we'll do is we'll get some Bitcoin Otter shirts. I'll get you one. Beto, I'll get you one. Man, you've done us a bunch of solids many times here in the RGV. We'll give you a little bit of love. So Matt says Admiral Rogers is a patriot, one of the Q leaders. He most definitely is. Admiral Rogers, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, Admiral Rogers was the original that we know of, right? That we know of. The original patriot to tip off Donald Trump that the usual suspects via the Obama administration were spying on Donald Trump in the Trump Towers. They had him wired for sound, man. Maybe even video, I don't know. Admiral Rogers walks over to the Trump Plaza, the Trump Tower, wherever he was living, right? Walks over there, sets up a skiff. Okay, help me out, guys, if I can remember. Secure, compartmentalized information, something for the F, I don't know. But it's secure. And it's actually literally a cubicle that it's soundproof. It's probably got a Faraday cage in there, all that stuff. Admiral Rogers went to the Trump Towers, visited Donald Trump, had his people set up a skiff in his penthouse or whatever it is up there. And he got up close and personal with Donald Trump and said, listen, the bad guys have your whole place wired for sound. Everything you do, everything you say is being recorded. That's Admiral Rogers. And that's probably the least of the great things that Admiral Rogers, that great patriot, has done. Sue says, call me, I'll hook you up. All right, I'll give you a call. And we'll get some more of those shirts going. So yeah, this whole thing, and it brings me back to the time when, again, if you're wondering about this whole Q thing, if it's the first, second, third time you've heard about it and you're wondering about it, hey, Otter, how do I figure it out? Or how do I get some research done and make my own decision on this stuff? Hit me up. The best place is probably the messenger thing that Facebook has. And I'll get back to you with links or whatever it is that you're interested in. There's some good places, right? So you got Rumble is it's not censorship proof, but it's real resistant to censorship. BitChute is really good. I've pointed a lot of people to the Q. I mean, BitChute was the only place you could really see Q videos for a long time, especially the Joe M series. A great one is called The Plan to Save the World. I think it's got many parts. Another one, so you all know, is great. It's called The Fall of Cabal, Cabal. They whacked her, ladies and gentlemen. It would be an homage to her. This great. She's Dutch, I think, or she was in Europe, but she was whacked. They got to her, but she put forth. It was an opus, ladies and gentlemen. You still see it, probably on BitChute, definitely on BitChute, maybe even on YouTube by now. And Janet Osebard, Osebaard, Janet Osebard did The Fall of the Cabal. I mean, you can find one that's it's like 2 hours or so, maybe even more, but it had a bunch of different parts. She had it in segments, but it will blow your mind. Ladies and gentlemen, all of these people, some of which have paid the ultimate price, like Ms. Osebard, okay? Like the original, as me and Mikey have spoken about many times, right? Mikey, if you're still watching, what was I think it was Behold a Pale Horse, William Cooper. They whacked him right in his driveway. Yes. So there's a ton of these patriots that have given all to the movement. But ladies and gentlemen, here's why I'm speaking the way I'm speaking, and I'm speaking so frankly today, because I haven't really said much about it, because as Joe can attest to, we started this out a little over 3 years ago. And whenever we mention things of this nature, we use certain names. we would be blocked. Or you'd see that circle of death. We would get blocked out, or the internet would go out, whatever it was. And we weren't able to get the broadcast over Facebook. And a lot of times, I think we were actually blocked a couple times on YouTube too. But nowadays, you're watching that show, the Fall of Cabal. What do you think? Real quick, Barry, if you don't mind throwing your opinion of it, because I don't want to just be the only one offering up a review, if you will. But your opinion, if you don't mind, of Fall of Cabal. It is, ladies and gents, it's when I first saw it, I mean, I had briefly gone over some of the stuff. There were some new things that I didn't know about, but I had briefly gone over some of the stuff. But the way she puts it together is spectacular. She did a great job with that. Janet Osibard, Fall of Cabal. But where I'm going with all this is, as you could tell, what is really heating up, and to an extent, I believe, I don't know the extent, but to an extent, the Epstein files are indeed a distraction. To what? Well, I think they're distracting us from the thrust of the sheer amount of good things that are happening. What do I mean? They have found like 145,000 children, ladies and gentlemen. Have you seen this on mainstream media? Of course not. Of course not. They were loving the retard. And I mean nothing against anyone who has mental disabilities. I'm talking about Joe stinking Biden. Okay? I'm going to call him worse things. We're on Facebook. Anyway, these mainstream media cucks were simping for the brain dead ice cream eater, diaper wearer, the auto pen, whoever that might have been. And they were letting in over 300,000 kids that got lost. Were they really lost? Were they really lost? Catholic Charities? Were they really lost? Woman who was on the power issue of Texas Monthly? You know who you are. You know who you are. And anybody who's here listening that knows what I'm talking about knows that woman's name. Sister. She calls herself Sister. 300,000 children were missing, ladies and gentlemen. The Trump administration, the DOJ, that everybody says is doing nothing, has found almost half of them. Thank you, Lord Jesus. Almost half of them have been found in about a year. Okay? You can imagine, I don't have to tell you what went on with those kids. I don't have to tell you that. Okay? You know it. Think the worst, and you're probably not even as far down as what happened to these kids. So, yes, I do believe it's 8 parts or more, very informative. Thanks, Barry. I do believe that we're going to find more. Will we find them all? Wow, I'm an optimist, but I don't know. I would love to think so. And if we don't, may they be in a good place. May they be with God. But what I'm getting at is the Epstein thing, and I know Donald Trump said it's a hoax, and I know that there's a war between him and Marjorie Taylor Greene, which I think is kayfabe. For those of you who don't recognize that term, kayfabe, that's the term that is used in wrestling, WWE. So if there's Hulk Hogan versus Macho Man and all that went on, right? That was called kayfabe. So much the same thing is going on right now between Marjorie Taylor Greene and Donald Trump. And then you got Elon Musk, who had his spat with Trump, and they serve purposes. These, I guess you could call them chapters in the overall movie. These subplots in the movie that we're watching have purposes. And one of the reasons why I'm going where I'm going with this show is this. Those of you that watch this show and watch other shows also know very, very well that we are not dealing with the world as we know it. We are not dealing with America as we thought we knew it. We are dealing with a whole different paradigm. We're dealing with the rules, ladies and gentlemen, have been scrapped. Okay? We do, as a civilized society, need to stick to our morality. But by the same token, the U.S. military is going to exact the ultimate price from these criminals that are doing what they do to humanity, to children. And ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be the common denominator. We all have people in our family that we can't even talk to because they watch TV, they watch The View, and they believe it. They watch Fox, and they believe it. We can't talk to them sometimes because they won't listen to the things that we've discovered that we know to be much closer to the truth than anything that has come on TV. So what do I mean? I mean that what is going on with the children is going to be the bridge. A sad, sick, disgusting bridge, but a bridge nonetheless, that is going to bring these people, usually they're very well programmed, they call themselves educated. They have degrees on them, usually more than one, attesting to their indoctrination. Some of whom are doctors. You get it? Indoctrination, doctor. Even I can come up with these things. Even I can decipher this. So these people are unable to think outside of the channels with which they were conditioned to think. Uneducated people like myself don't have that limitation. I have my own limitations, as you can guess, but that is not one of them. Being conditioned to think in only one channel is not one of them. Okay? So these people are people, they're humans, the vast majority of which don't want to see children hurt, harmed, and worse. So as they come over to the point where they're watching, Brian says, finally something I can relate to. Hulk Hogan versus Macho Man. Yes, that was it. That back in the day. Kayfabe. So think of that with the politicians now, Brian. Paul says, I want to see arrests. Where in the hell will justice be given to those children and their families? The elite are above the laws and we suffer of. This needs to end. They are not held accountable as you and I. I agree with 90% of that statement. I really do, Paul. But let me pose a question to you. Have you been watching our judiciary lately? Last year, 2, 3, 4 years? If you have, if you've been observing our judiciary, you know that it is shot through with corruption. I'm going to put a couple guys out there. Roy Cooper, Boasberg, and the lady who I forgot her name that sent ICE down the hallway to the clerk, went back to her courtroom, took the illegal alien into her chambers, and let him out the back door. You remember her? These judges, because of the corrupt judiciary we are under, oh, they'll nail you and me in a heartbeat. We'll go to jail for life for whatever we do, jaywalking. But not the people that you and I want to see arrested. They're not going to suffer. They're going to be let loose by Boasberg, Cooper, and the other criminal judges that went to Epstein Island. So what will we have then? Double jeopardy. They will never be able to be charged again in our court system. That, Paul, is what I'm talking about when I say we don't really want the arrests yet. And another thing, and I'll send you some stuff, Paul, and you don't have to agree with me, and you don't have to believe what I believe. But some of us believe that some of that has already been done, and they are no longer on this earth. Some of them, the real bad ones. We'll see. We'll see. And I'm talking about military tribunals because our judicial system is so corrupt. What else we got? 8-part. Okay, so we're caught up with the comments. Now, I say all that to say that I want those arrests as much as everyone else. I want the televised trials, especially the end part, right? I think everybody has to see what happens in the United States. Not only if you mess with us as a country, you mess with our elections, right? You mess especially with our kids. You mess with our kids, this is what you get. And it won't be pay-per-view. I want it to be on every single television owned in the United States of America, even the ones in Best Buy that nobody owns yet. Put it up. Show them. This is what happens when you mess with kids in the United States. Don't even think about it. So I am on the same page as you, Paul. I am on the same page. But I think that it has to be done in order. And that order needs strategy. And that strategy has been gamed out at the highest levels. I can only imagine the quantum computing AI or whatever that the U.S. military intelligence has that figured all this out when they began this operation called the Q operation. They might call it something different. Ultimately, what it is a counterinsurgency. We were taken over. If you want proof of that, look up the 2020 election. Oh, it's busting out now. It's busting out now. Barry says, Ashley is my daughter. She's stuck at the airport in Georgia and is listening. Be safe, kiddo. Ashley, if you're still watching, God bless you. May you be watched over, protected by the Lord Jesus Christ, and may you make it home safely to your parents who are a little bit anxious, I'm sure. But thank you for watching, and thank you more so, okay, for keeping in contact with your parents and letting them know that you're all right. That's awesome. Thank you for that, Barry. So Matt says, send them military tribunals, no double jeopardy. That's what I'm talking about, Matt. Now, Paul, you might be at a disadvantage informationally because you might not have bumped into this stuff that we've been looking at. Matt, when did we first bump into Q? Was it 2018? I don't think we were original OGs in 2017. October 2017 was when Q first began to post on 4chan. But we came in, I think you were the one that introduced me to Twitter. And I think we came in 2018, and we were working in the same office. So, yeah, I'm going to send you some stuff, Paul. And you be the judge, right? You are the arbiter of truth in your own mind. I don't want to, tell anyone, hey, this is 100% true. The only thing I'll say that about is the Bible, right? I won't say that about conspiracy theories that I happen to subscribe to. What I can say is I'm not the only one, okay, that is believing this stuff, and I'm certainly not the smartest. And I can send you people, 2018, yeah. So we've been on this for a while. Great segue, Paul. Great segue into why I'm discussing these things tonight. Because when these people are able to bridge the distance, finally, to sanity, and come to where we are at, meaning we want justice. They think they want justice right now, but they don't really know which justice they want because how do we know this? They're taking grade school kids out of school that are getting hit by cars because they're protesting ICE. There's kids in grade school saying F ICE in videos in their classrooms. This is how we know that they're either not genuine about justice and being paid to do all these things, these communist collaborators, or they just don't know. So when they come to the point when they can actually listen to logic and they actually want, desire, and are willing to listen to an explanation, it's us, guys. It's us. They don't have anybody better. Maybe we are the best. Have you ever thought of that? I know I have. And it drives me to want to be better. Because when the people come over to the logical side, they're going to need somebody to be fairly, well articulated on the things that we need to tell them about, starting from the beginning, coming forward. And I have that information. It doesn't all depend on us. That's what I'm getting at. With the information that I have, I can help you find it. You can help me find it. Send me some stuff if you got it. But we can come together to help our fellow humans, our fellow Americans, first and foremost. Family members, Americans, right? Even if you have family members like I do in Mexico or in Canada, we can help them too. This is an international thing. Did the pandemic stop at one nation? Hell no. They went for the whole enchilada, man. They weren't happy just killing Americans. They wanted to kill everybody. Sue says, I heard a rumor that they're considering putting a large data processing center, I think I can say it, in our county. Unfortunately, this is the future. Yes and no. Sue, I think you know where I'm going to go with this. You may have baited me into this, and I will welcome the bait. I will bite hook, line, and sinker. So, what is the paradigm we have about AI right now? Mass computing and all that Bitcoin mining. What is the paradigm right now? The paradigm is massive data centers. You got to have a warehouse, hopefully in a cold climate. You're talking Florida, Sue. So it's not going to do that. We're not going to be able to do that. They're not going to be able to do that without massive amounts of air conditioning, which means massive amounts of energy being sucked up from any community to process that. What's the answer? Again, I'm not smart enough to figure this stuff out. And if I was, I couldn't figure out a way to put it together. But there is a place that did. It's called Theta Labs. You want to know about it? I can send you the info. At my house, on a laptop, I have what's called an edge node, a Theta edge node, which does a little bit of computing and pays me. I can't hear it. I know it's working. It's paying me in crypto. Right? What does that mean? It means that there is a decentralized AI platform that will use all of our computers for computing power to figure out algorithms, to figure out maybe even they're doing a movie, you're going to do an image, you're going to do, what do you use AI for? Interrogatory terms, whatever you want to learn, whatever you want to know. It doesn't require a huge database in your county, Sue. If you have enough people like me running these nodes, getting paid to do so, okay, you don't need the huge data centers. It's called decentralized AI, Theta Labs. I'll send you, anybody who wants to know about it, hit me up. I'll send it to you. Sue says data centers suck up energy and water. Yes, a lot of water is needed there. So imagine if you could take that footprint, that workload, right, and spread it out amongst the world, because there are edge nodes, Theta edge nodes all over the world. It's not even expensive. Soon I want to offer this to you, Sue. I've got my node. You can stake to my node, and you get 7%. So T Fuel is the token. It's right now at about 1.5 cents per token. You need 10,000 of those cents, about $150 to make a this node, and you get 7% on whatever it is you stake. Yeah, but you're not going to get that from a bank, right? 7%. So for $150, you could run it on your laptop, your desktop, whatever, 24/7. You know, it's only a cent and a half, but let me tell you, it's all-time high, 68 cents. T Fuel reached 68 cents in 2021. So you can get it for a cent and a half right now. 7%. You put your $150 in there, 7%, and you see it in your wallet every day. Thank you, Sue. I took the bait. So what I'm getting at is this. When it comes time for us to lay out the strategy, to lay out what happened, because people really don't know what happened. And I won't pretend to have the whole pie. I might have a piece here or a piece there that I can speak to. But ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be all they have. We can make inroads with our family members if we haven't burned those bridges, if they haven't burned them behind them. Right? Friends, acquaintances, people who are seriously and sincerely looking for assistance. We might be the only person that can bring them back to solid land. They can't believe the TV, can't believe the internet. You know, if we can do it with some sort of compassion, or, you know, having a little bit of, you know, mercy on the fact that they're completely clueless. Most people, if you're a TV watcher, if you watch 6, 10 o'clock news, you are clueless. I mean, you have no idea what's going on in the world. Literally no idea. In fact, what it is you think you do know is so far away from the truth that you probably believe that Joe Biden won in 2020. None of us think that, because we're able to parse out this information, these details, not because we're smarter, but because we've removed ourselves, right, from the emotion, and some of us are emotion. Just Paul, I feel the same way you do. I want to see these people meet justice. And I want to see it writ large throughout our complete American landscape. Does that mean TV? It means TV. It means public justice. Sue says, you can hook me up. All right. Got it. I'll help you out. Do any other crypto run these nodes? Not that particular node, but there are other cryptos that you can stake. You can stake the vast majority of them. And again, this is just the start, ladies and gents. We're going to have a financial revolution soon. I mean, yeah, we got to get through these midterms, right? But our kids are going to have a lot better opportunities than we had. Think about it this way. And you do well not to listen to me or anybody else on Facebook, right? Think about it this way. Donald Trump and his family have invested unknown amounts of money in crypto, be it Bitcoin, be it World Liberty Financial, whatever it is. Do you think a guy like that, a family like that, is going to go into something? Let's just say you're one of those people who believes that the Trumps are crooked. I don't. I believe that he is one of the very few clean people in U.S. politics. In fact, I think he's the cleanest. He's been vetted so often. He's been taken to court so often. He's been researched so often, investigated so often that if there was something on him, they'd have brought it up by now. It would have stuck. So if a family like that, okay, with their storied wealth and business savvy, has invested such a huge chunk, and don't take my word for it, look it up, into crypto, might it behoove you just to look into it? Just saying, Paul says, American patriots need to wake up. Islamic extremists said we're going to take over Europe, and it did. You are right. I agree. And look no further than Somalia, in other words, Minnesota. Yeah. When they say we're going to take it over America, yes, that will not happen. Paul, that will not happen. And I know, I've been looking at this stuff too. People wake up. People who say it's just words and encourage others to let their guard down will be responsible for the abuse and attacks on American families and their children. We need to wake up and band together. I do agree. No, don't be sorry for the rant. I'm in front of the camera, Paul. And what I do is I try to make sure everybody gets their piece. And don't be sorry for the rant. You're not the only one paying attention. I have a friend of mine, that there's no such thing as an ex-Marine. Sam, he's also from Buffalo. He's down here. He's very much on the page you're on, Paul. He's ready to tear things up. But the problem is that's what the bad guys want us to do. They want us to stir things up. I'm not saying that you have to believe the military has this in hand. What I am saying is just do yourself a favor and look into it. And again, hit me up. I'll send you information on specific things that you want to look at, as long as, I've looked into it. I don't know. Obviously, I haven't looked into everything. But there are some things, especially this counterinsurgency, that I know a little bit about, and that I can put you on the trail that you can investigate for yourself, and you be the determiner of whether or not you think that either, they're on it at all, they exist at all, do they have it well in hand? Is it just the beginning? Or, as I believe, we're watching a movie. Okay? We're watching a movie. Because how do Americans think? How do you speak to the average American? You do it with stories. Okay? And we'll go back to the Bible with that. Jesus spoke in parables because humans relate to stories more than they relate to dry information. What I believe, and this is what I believe, and I've been led to believe this by many different things that are called proofs that were sufficient for me. They might not be sufficient for you. And I'm speaking to everybody here, not just Paul. I believe that there is a great production crew behind what is going on today. I believe that some of the things that are happening actually are happening. And I believe that other things that are happening might not have happened, but it sure looks good. You call it AI, call it production value, call it central casting. Has anybody heard that come from Donald Trump? I know I have multiple occasions, probably more than a handful. Central casting. Look it up. Put in your favorite AI. How many times has Donald Trump mentioned the term central casting? And go down the rabbit hole. Anyway, I do believe these are real events, but I believe many of them have already occurred. And I have information from a guy who's much more articulate than me as he goes through this whole scenario. I'll send it to you. Anybody wants to, hit me up on the messenger thing and I'll send it to you. Okay. Europe is a failed state. Exactly, Barry. Exactly. But it's failed for a bunch of different reasons. One of them is their own hubris. They believe, and I don't think the average Germans think this anymore, but they believe that they were smarter than America and they allowed these intellectuals that were unelected to take over all of Europe, right? The Klaus Schwabs, right? Klaus Schwab, right? That freak of nature. Von der Leyen, that woman, right? Who was the other one? Maricon. Yes, Maricon. You got to remember him from France, right? I am mispronouncing that on purpose. For those of you who don't speak Spanish, it means some effeminate man. His husband's pretty nasty too. And then you have you have Starmer. They're all simps. They're all cucks. All of them. Weak human beings. They have to be because they're owned. They first of all sold themselves to Satan, and then they sold themselves to these globalist families, right? So yeah, Europe has failed. So one of the theories I have is one of the biggest reasons for gaining hold of Greenland is certainly not to defend against or come against Russia. We're working with Russia, by the way. Again, if you don't believe this, that's fine. I can send you some things. Anyway, it's to keep a buffer between us and Europe. Okay, and here's an aside. We don't have a lot of time left. 6:53 here, 7:53 if you're on the East Coast or Florida. Did you hear what Canada wants to do? Joe, did you hear what Canada wants to do? You've been to Canada recently. Just last year, you were in Quebec. Do you know what Canada wants to do? They don't have enough young guys. They don't have enough patriots to fight. So what are they doing? They're inviting Chinese guys to come and fight for them. I kid you not. So they want Chinese dudes, maybe even men, maybe even women, maybe even men that want to be women, to join the Canadian military to defend them against America. Ladies and gentlemen, this is madness. But again, could it be we're watching a movie? Could it be that the stupidity of these people has to be so inflated? The exaggeration has gone into hyperbole. Can it be? I believe so. I believe to some extent and to some way, there's going to be some sanity in somebody that voted for that Biden character with the cackling Harris, right? He had this cackling Harris attached to him. It was horrible, wasn't it? Somebody who voted for those people is someday going to wake up and say, wait a minute, Canada's recruiting Chinamen to fight for them? Communists? Paul says, it's a planned insurgency on our borders. Doubt it not, my friend. Doubt it not. We doubt it at our own peril. Okay? And I dare say if we were to tell someone who watches TV that this is happening, they would have no clue. What frame of reference do they have? They have some bloviating friggin' professor that they listened to for 4, 6, 8 stinking years, telling them the wonders of socialism and collectivism and how horrible capitalism is. And you tell them that a communist is going to come in and fight for Canada, they'll love it. They'll love it. Eat it up even. Right? So again, I believe this has been planned out, ladies and gents. I believe that this has been war gamed. This has been gamed out using the biggest, you use your own adjective, computers, AI models, whatever, okay, that the military could come up with and find. And I believe that what is underway right now is the plan, the strategy, that is hopefully going to have the least amount of collateral damage so that we won't have a complete civil war. And yes, the same usual suspects were behind the U.S. Civil War. And who helped us out there? Spoiler, Russia. The USS Liberty that was being bombed by the Israelis, napalmed across the deck of the USS Liberty, missiled. They were about to go kinetic on board. They were bringing down the helicopters when a ship came and saved them. Where was that ship from? Russia. Saved the USS Liberty from certainly being sunk, scuttled, all hands on board, murdered, slaughtered by the people that call themselves the Israel of the Bible. Falsely, of course. Falsely. But that happened, ladies and gentlemen. Look up the USS Liberty. And then look it up again, because you'll probably get Snopes. You'll probably get fact checks. You'll probably get all this rubbish. Look it up. The USS Liberty. It was done to us. It was lied about, both from the people in Israel and the communists on our end. Right? Johnson was his name. We all know what he did to Kennedy. So, a planned insurgency, yes. And let's see, somebody's popping up. I don't know if that's you, Danny. But it's about time that we sign off. I will tell you one thing. I don't want to leave without good news. And there's only one place that I am guaranteed to get good news. And that's the Bible. This is coming from 1 John. Look deeper, says Barry. You are absolutely right. Do your own research, right, Barry? Because when you go down these rabbit holes, it's only you and your intellect that you can depend on. You be the arbiter of truth in your own mind. Don't let anybody else, including me, especially me, try to take that place, that usurp that spot, okay, in your mind. Why do I say this? God himself does not override your self-sovereignty. He refuses to do that. Your free will is yours. And how do we know it's valuable? Because not even God himself will run upon it. Dear friends, this is from 1 John chapter 4. Since God so loved us, we also ought to love one another. No one has ever seen God. But if we love one another, God lives in us, and his love is made complete in us. Ladies and gentlemen, and thinking of myself, sometimes it really hammers it home to me that sometimes the only Bible someone will ever read is coming through my life, my flawed, crazy, mistake-filled life. And this is where I'm going with this Q stuff. This is where I'm going with the people that are going to be coming to us for an explanation. We might be the only people that can put this stuff together for them. And that's what I'm going to try and do. And I'm going to try and help you do that too, with your family and the people you know that I don't even know. So if I can in any way facilitate that, if I can in any way help you out in your mission to bring sense to people who are completely at a loss as to how to put things into logical perspective. And I'm not saying I have all, even some of the answers, maybe a few. But this is where I'm going. As the Bible says it, we need to love each other. We need to be together, And if you want to break it down into certain segments, Paul, you're talking about patriots. If we love this country, for our own reasons maybe, wouldn't it make sense that we come together with our common love for this nation? I think you would agree. Matt says, congratulations to the Women's USA team for winning hockey. Yes, that's right. We took gold, ladies and gentlemen. The ladies took gold in hockey. They beat Canada. Let's hope the men can bring it home. We will see. All right, everybody. I am going to sign off, but not before I ask God to bless all of you. Ashley, if you're still watching from Georgia in the airport, may God bless you and give you a safe trip home to your mom and dad. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for being part of what it is that we do here, which someday I believe will bear fruit. At least I hope so. God bless you. God bless your family. And God bless America.